Good morning, folks. Good afternoon or good evening, depends where you're tuning in from. My name is Mark Beggs. It's another episode of the podcast where Mark speaks to. And this morning I have a lady who I've known since 1995. I was working out, so that'll make us both feel a bit old. It's going back a long time. Tara Fay, international destination wedding and event planner, which is which is fantastic. So, Tara, before we kick off, well, first thing is just tell people what exactly you do. Now, I know that's the title, but what do you do?
Good morning. Well, sometimes people describe a wedding planner as somebody walking a tightrope in 6-inch heels, blindfold while juggling lit balls. So I
Very
think
good, yeah.
that's a lot of people sort of say that it's apparently supposed to be in the top five of the most stressful jobs, which I don't actually think, but it's very interesting job to do. It's I always say if I'm speaking to students, it's a vocation as opposed to a job. You have to love what you do because essentially what you are doing is you are troubleshooting and problem solving for people before they even know that there is a problem that has happened with their wedding or their event. And weddings are rather unusual from an event standpoint because we do work in corporate and private events also in that they you're dealing with somebody's private money, which is very different to a normal type of event
Yes.
because there's a lot of emotion tied up. So weddings are the one place where people make a financial decision based on emotion. So that is something to be brought into the conversation always, and we try to save people from themselves.
Okay. Now, before we talk about what got you into it, what one thing we ask everybody when they come on first, what was your first summer job?
My first summer job. Wow, I had so many of them. I think the first main one that I had was working in retail in London, and I worked for a fashion brand across many different stores that they had. So I did get to work, say, in luxury because I
Oh,
worked
right.
in Harrods, I worked in Harvey Nichols, I worked in Selfridges, and I worked in the designer department. So depending on what day, I'd only get my roster at the beginning of each week, so I wouldn't know which store that I was going to until the Sunday or Monday.
I say that gave you a great outlook and even in customer service, dealing with all types of people, with all types of problems. Like all those stores, they're all of a certain type of store with a certain type of customer and a certain type of spend. But still, there must be a nice mix there.
It's a huge mix, but it's also that you're not only dealing with each store individually, but you are dealing with the brand that you're working with. So then, say the store has different SOPs for all of the team members, but also the brand would have had it. So that even goes down to grooming, how you're going to deal with your customer, how you're going to speak with them, how you're going to deal with any challenges, when to escalate, when to not escalate. So it does actually give you a great grounding in, as you say, service.
Yeah, yeah. And I suppose having that type of service in one of your first jobs sort of sets you up for things coming down the road, doesn't it?
I think it gives you a foundation so you're never going to go backwards. So you're always, it's that sort of like constant striving for excellence, which from an event standpoint, and especially when you're dealing with individual people or very high net worth individuals, what they're more interested in is the experience and how you're going to, and all of the different touch points. So we always say, even when we're recommending different vendors to people, we're going to assume that each of them knows how to do their job properly, but it is more how, as Maya Angelou says, it's how you're going to make people feel.
Yeah, yeah. And going into the job that you're in, like an awful lot of small business people, they always trying to find a company or a role or a business that isn't that it's hard, but it isn't as hard as something like yours. Like you could have gone into just event management only, and I've been involved in event management with Top Gear and Taste of Dublin and all that, which is, as you said, commercial. But going into something where there's so much emotion and there's so much like it's a one-day event, really, isn't it? And if anything goes wrong, you're remembered for it. It's not a 5-day event or a 6-day event. This is something that you're very focused on.
Hugely, and it's a one-time shot, so you don't get a do-over. It's not like a, like a conference or something
Yeah,
or an exhibition where if it doesn't work out, we can do it properly the next day, or even like theater. And because a lot of people with theater backgrounds do end up going to work in sort of an event decor.
they
But
do.
it is
Yes.
like that timeline, your timeline for an event is like, it is so particular, especially for a wedding, because it has to start at a particular time. We've got a finite number of hours to fit everything in. And as I say, there's no do-over.
No, no, there's no, well, we're going to move the date by a week. Hope you don't mind. Like,
There's not, I mean, that they
yeah,
can't, like, if something is delayed, you need to think on your feet. If a car doesn't turn up, you need to find a solution. So you're always, I think, as we go, we have disaster mentality. So we always plan for the unexpected and have three or four scenarios in case, just as
just in
backup.
case.
Um, exactly. So you never want to be able to go back to somebody and go, here's our challenge or here's our problem, unless you've already got at least two or three solutions for them. And that is whether that's like 6 months out or 6 hours out or
Right.
6 minutes out.
A minute, yeah. And what brought you into doing that type of job?
I must have been completely psychotic when I thought about it, because I remember at the time there were no wedding planners in Ireland. There were very few wedding planners in Europe, actually. And the only place that I think people's reference point for a wedding planner was Father of the Bride.
That's
And
right.
even
Yes,
even
yes.
when I did start, I do remember people saying to me, "But you can go and get a real job afterwards, can't you?" And even I famously spoke to some smaller sort of like corporate event companies that had only started because the events market in Ireland at the time was very young, and they saying to me that is never going to catch on. And even, when I spoke about like a million years ago, chair covers were the thing, and people said nobody is going to pay to cover a chair. Why would they pay to cover a chair? Nobody is ever going
Yeah.
to hire a specialty linen. But something in me said that this is going to work out. I had, I suppose, an unshakable belief in the power of what we were going to do. So I did go to Los Angeles for a little while. And I essentially interned with an amazing lady there who had been in the business for 25 years, out in the valley, but we worked all over Los Angeles, Orange County, on huge, sort of extravagant events, from birthday parties to corporate events to weddings to bar and bat mitzvahs. So we literally saw every element and every end, and they were a full production house. So I got to work in the art department. I got to work with the florists. I got to work with stationery. And it was an incredible training ground.
And that's one thing, like, there are an awful lot of entrepreneurs. A lot of entrepreneurs have gone away to get experience or to do stuff and then bring that expertise. And I think that confidence that you need back to run your own business. Like, did you find that when you came back from Los Angeles, your outlook, your thinking, your approach, how you even go and approach banks and people for money and how you approach clients, did that change to the Tara before going to Los Angeles?
I think what it did was it gave me, I don't know if even though it was a belief, but that there was going to be an opportunity. There was huge opportunity, and there was this sort of like blank canvas, and nobody was looking at it. And I think everybody was going on the assumption that that's never going to catch on. And it was before Ireland was even a destination for weddings. So,
Yeah,
I was very lucky from the point of view that any of the publicity or sort of editorials that I worked on afterwards, I did focus on US or very much North American couples coming to Ireland. And it was the start basically of Destination Ireland.
right. And the first probably 2 or 3 years is very tough for businesses trying to make money, trying to establish themselves. What do you feel was the one or two biggest challenges in that period that you maybe even didn't expect?
I think probably, and it's the same thing for a lot of people, especially when you're in sort of like what is a semi-creative sphere, is to work more in your business than on your business. Um, so I think the belief that you can do it all and you can't, nobody can do it all. And it's sort of to understand or to know when you need to have buy-in from somebody else. Because I suppose I have been lucky enough to have people around me who have said, this is not working, you need to change it. And I have paid that forward. So anytime anybody is starting now, I say to them, look, this is what you've got to do. There is no way that one person can do it all. You need to buy in the professionals.
Okay. And work-wise, do you have a limit on the amount of weddings you can do a year? Like, are you fixed, or can you grow and grow and grow?
You can, it is a challenging one to scale because at a certain point you cannot keep that level of attention to detail. And that is one thing that we are known for, is that our attention to detail. And that is one thing that separates, I suppose, weddings or private events and corporate, because any of our team will walk into a room and if a cable is out of place, they will spot it from 50 feet away, or like 20 meters. We're
Yeah.
going to see if a pleat is not correct on the inside of a tent, if a tablecloth hasn't been ironed or pressed, because that is what our client is going to expect. And we have to be their eyes and ears everywhere. So you can scale to a certain point, but it is about that training, that immersive training with our team, that it only comes from working on X amount of weddings with us. So we can scale to a certain extent, but it that you can't sort of like double in size.
So, and what's the challenge? Like, your business is called Tara Fay, and you
Yeah.
have other businesses that call other names, that are other brand names. But being Tara Fay, does that mean everyone wants Tara Fay at the wedding? And is that a limitation of growth as well?
It's a really interesting question because originally I didn't call it Tara Fay, so the company is called Xena Productions, and there's a funny story attached to that. But then about 8 or 9 years ago, I had started working a lot more internationally. Well, about 15 years ago, I started working internationally, but I started being asked to speak at international events. And a lot of people said to me, we don't get the Xena Productions. Yes, it's a great story of how you came about the name, but you are the person, you are the brand. And I did speak to a lot of colleagues in the US who have used their own name, and they said that is down to how you are managing that. That is how you are putting that out there. So, lean into it and embrace your name. So,
Mm,
to answer the question, sometimes people do expect, or they ask at the beginning, is it you or is it somebody else? So we give them the option and they're always in control, because especially from a wedding point of view, people like to feel that they're in control of their money and their event, that we're not
yeah.
taking over.
Yeah, because there is it's a big day, it's a big spend, it's a big emotion, it's a big everything, really, isn't it?
Yeah, it's huge. I mean, it's incredibly emotionally draining and financially draining on a lot of people, because sometimes we do get panic calls from people like 3 or 4 months in where they just want to throw money at the problem. And that is never a good relationship to start with, because they're just panicked, they're on the back foot, you're on the back foot with them. So we will try and de-escalate, talk them down and go, where are your pinch points? This is how we can help you. And a lot of the time we'll say no and we won't take it on, because we go, we're not the right fit for you. What you need is this.
Okay. And like, since COVID, we saw during COVID, an awful lot of weddings, all these events got smaller and smaller and smaller. And some of them have grown. Have they gone back to pre-COVID stages with the, excuse me, the number of people out weddings? Has that grown again?
It has. It's grown hugely. And the more interesting thing is, from an international wedding point of view, where Ireland is the destination, we are still seeing very large weddings. And for very large wedding for destination, it's like 150 to 250 people traveling.
Wow,
Um,
that's big.
some with, maybe some where it's a great grandparent was Irish, or they have this grow or this connection with Ireland, or sometimes it's just that they put it into ChatGPT, where is the best place to get married in Europe.
Right. And they hit Ireland, except for the weather, you're okay. And
Well, we always say you're not coming to Ireland for the weather, so you just have to lean into it.
you just completely. And do you then, if someone's coming from abroad, are you organizing everything from scratch? Are you doing the travel as well as the events, as well as the accommodation? Are you doing one-stop solution for everything?
We are doing to a certain extent. We're not doing unless we're flying everybody in on the one flight or we're just flying private. They are doing their own airlines. We will ask the guests, like we provide a guest concierge service. So where all of their guests will reply to us, we either use a Google form or something like that. So we will try and understand exactly when they're arriving, notify the hotels, like if they're, especially if they're on a US flight, they're arriving at 4 or 5 in the morning. If they're traveling
Yeah.
to a venue, we will try to get them checked in early. But we are a one stop for all of the different elements within once they arrive in the country. And actually, on the weather point, one thing where Ireland is set apart is because we're estimating bad weather, we have a backup. Whereas a lot of south of France or Italian wedding venues, they are banking on this incredible view outside.
Very true. Yes.
And it is something where we are coming into our own now because there's unprecedented rain and heat in the south of France, the south of Spain, all over sort of like Tuscany and the different sort of like beautiful points in Italy, like Lake Como. And if it rains, there is no backup for them, whereas we have the backup because we're assuming it's going to rain and we say, okay, if it is sunny, and they go, we want it to be sunny, and we go, we actually don't, because you want your backup plan to be as good as, so our backup plan is the sun.
Yeah, and it's amazing when you go to weddings, especially in like September, October, even August, and you go to some place and the weather's fantastic, fantastic, and it's like a massive bonus because you didn't, even the men's suits and all, you didn't expect it to be as good.
Exactly. Yeah.
All the umbrellas are over in the corner on standby.
Yeah.
And tell me, Tara, how soon, like a bride or groom, how soon do they contact you in the whole process? Like, should at the beginning, or do you get people coming halfway through because they just can't get things together, or what?
We normally would work with people 12 to 18 months in advance. We don't take anything more than 18 months out for various reasons. A lot of them with sort of if people from a venue point of view, sometimes they will contact us 6 to 12 months out. So it's anything from 6 to 18 months.
Right,
Under
okay.
6 months can be a little bit more challenging, only from the point of view that we need them to make decisions quickly, and maybe they don't always want to make decisions quickly. And because also that we need we need huge amounts of face time with them. So we will, if it's that short of time period, we would need to be speaking to them every sort of every week or twice a week.
And
So
you must be unique in customer relationship wise that you have a very good working relationship with your customer for maybe 18 months. Then the big day happens, and then there's no repeat business because the relationship is finished.
it's interesting because we will, like, maybe they'll say their siblings will contact us, and maybe the
Yeah.
sibling isn't getting married in Ireland or wants to get married somewhere else in Europe, or else they will come back to us for kids events, or they will come back for 40th or 50th birthday parties, or their parents' wedding anniversaries. So you do build up a relationship with people, and sometimes, like 6 months later or a year later, you'll get a funny meme from them, and they go, "We miss you."
After being with you for so long,
It's such an
which is
intense
which is
relationship.
nice.
Yeah.
Yeah, which is nice. And do you like proportion wise of business? What portion of your business are you doing internationally?
We do about 20 to 30% international, sort of outside Ireland. And then within Ireland, our sort of our split would be probably 60, 70% non-Irish, and the rest would be Irish.
All right, that's high. And if someone else is listening now who's going to start their own business in any field, like what is the top one or two or three tips that you would say they need to be careful of? Like I talk an awful lot about people's mental health and all because it can be very lonely. If things go wrong, who do you talk to? That type of stuff. But what is your two or three top pointers?
I think the one thing, as you said, it's like it's building a community. So I'm very fortunate. I'm a member of a group, a business group specifically for the wedding industry in the US. And we meet once a month as 8 of us. We meet once a month. I have another group in Ireland, and again, we have chats every 6 months. I think the big one is surrounding yourself with good legal team, and a good financial team. And that is not something that you can do yourself. Even if you have a legal or financial background, you need to buy that in because you cannot be impartial about yourself.
very, and an awful lot of people tend to, when you're right, when they start off, to do everything themselves, and they're doing everything half as well. But if they had the outside expertise, want to let them do more of what they need to do, which is grow the business, and let the other experts do what they do.
And I think as well is not to be afraid to say, I don't know the answer to that, because a lot of the time you don't know the answer. And I think it takes a lot more to say, I don't know, than it takes to sort of like pretend that you know, because all you're doing is going to cause yourself pain further down the road.
Yeah, very true. And do you have a mentor? Do you have what I call the shoulder to cry on? Do you have that person that when things are going the wrong way for whatever reason, that you can lock the door and scream your head off or shout or get what's troubling you out there? Do you have that person yourself or
I have
person?
I have a very understanding husband, but I also have great friends that I can go for long walks with, who have their own businesses as well. And we sort of like, they listen to me rant, while we're walking 5 kilometers at a very fast pace. So I suppose that does help. And as I say, I've got great colleagues in the US and around Europe that we sort of are on each other's speed dial. So we can ring each other up and go, this has happened. How would you deal with that? And they do it the other way around as well. So they'll ring up and go, look, this is after happening. We know something like this happened to you recently. How did you deal with it?
Very good. And it's interesting too. Like you were, which is very impressive, quoted in Martha Stewart's one of her publications about the design of a if I remember correctly, the websites and all that. That's very like you must feel very proud that being an Irish-based company, but you're international and with the likes of Martha Stewart and all. Like it's fantastic achievement.
It is, and as I say, I've been very lucky to be given the opportunity to work so hard.
Yeah,
It
very
is,
true.
it's constant, but it is, people say you're only as good as your last event. That's not true because your last event is over and done with. You're only as good as the one that you're working on at the moment and the next 10 coming up because it
Yeah,
is constantly, if you think about from a wedding point of view, not even necessarily if corporate events are slightly different, but from a wedding point of view, your market is changing and the expectations of the market is change every 6 to 12, 18 months. So what we're seeing now is sort of the ending of sort of millennials coming through. And I know it's a very trite phrase to say, like Gen X or Gen Z or millennials or boomers or Gen Alpha, but there are trends and there are expectations because now we see people choosing making decisions more on experiences for them or their guests rather than the look and feel of something.
right. So you've seen the change. So the changes come along, and then that also means that as an entrepreneur, you need to be able to change quickly and embrace that change.
Hugely, which is again why you have to be careful about how you scale, and how your team that you have around you as well, because we've got a very young team, um, especially from on the day events. Like our production managers are incredible, like our on the day team, and they don't work in weddings for anybody else. They only like a lot of them are freelancers. They work in the music industry or festivals because it is multidisciplinary approach that we need them to have.
Right. So they will see anything that's going wrong, everywhere that's going wrong, and nail it before anybody even notices
And
it.
we have very strong SOPs that go out to everybody as well. Like we worked in London last week. We hired locally. Our SOPs went out to people. This is our brand. This is how we speak with guests. This is how we approach a problem. You know, and so that everybody knows from the very beginning, and that we get a briefing, with all of the team members that are working that day. So they are part of our team, even though they may be freelancers for the day. And also, events are bloody hard. They're very
Yeah.
long days. They're emotionally and they're physically draining. So that's why I suppose you need people either that are committed or bought into the vocation, but also have the energy and the youth to go and the young legs to go with it.
To go with it. And it's interesting how you're briefing them so what your culture is, how you talk to customers. So it's your look and feel, even though it's outsourced people, it's still your look and feel, it's still your culture, it's still the Tara Fay approach.
It's yeah, exactly. Like if we're outside in the sunshine, if you've sunglasses on, if you're speaking to a guest, take your sunglasses off, let them see that you are speaking to them, that you appreciate them. don't point at something, like show gesture to where they're going. It's little things like that, but
Yeah.
also sort of like if you don't know the answer, don't leave somebody hanging. Go back and tell them that you've escalated it or you're looking into it for somebody.
It's probably one of the things I always give out about in restaurants and all now that is lacking proper training leads to proper service, and lack of training leads to like even I'm a grandfather now, even handing putting soup over young kids' heads and
Yeah.
stuff like that. And I was trained as a waiter, so like training your staff the right way, like the rewards are absolutely unbelievable.
It's huge because, at the end of the day, that's the face of the business. So it's the face of like, and it's especially when your name is on it, it is your brand, it is your DNA. It's, the Will Guidera book about service. I mean,
Yeah.
that should be on everybody's sort of reading list. Anybody who has any type of customer interaction or client interaction or sort of like works in a service industry, that is based for hospitality, but it should be compulsive reading for anybody in service.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. And just as we finish up, if someone's listening now and they're going through a really tough time and they've had a rubbish week, a rubbish month, like, and they're thinking whether they should stay working for themselves or not working for themselves, what would you say to someone in a position like that?
You know what? It's one of those phrases. Nothing is ever as bad as it seems, and thinking about things are sometimes the worst. Actually, getting up and doing them is easier. It's
Yes,
always the thought of doing something is harder than doing it. Go for a walk, get out in the fresh air. I know it's very trite, but get out and talk to somebody and sort of write down. I'm a great person for lists, so do your pros and cons, and then just make the decision. And you know what? If it doesn't work out, try something else. It's only by failing we get to know what we can do.
absolutely, and absolutely. Tara, thanks so much for your time this morning. Now, if anyone's listening, they want to reach out to you. Your website address is very easy,
It's
tarafay.ie.
.ie and it's
Yeah.
FAY.
FAY, yes, FAY. So if anyone wants to reach out to Tara, so it's tarafay .ie, and the website is fantastic. There's a lot of information and your contact numbers, everything is on that. Is there any other medium you want them to contact you on, or just all through the website?
It's a website, or we get DMs on Instagram or TikTok. We're on all the social media channels.
Fantastic. Tara, thanks so much for your time this
Not at
morning.
all. Thank you.
Really appreciate it, and have a great day, and good luck. I'll talk to you again very soon.
Okay. Thanks. Bye bye.
Take care. Bye.